Well, the fallout continues from Tuesday as we roll through a Friday morning here on KCMO. You know, you go back a few months and Clay County was right in the thick of this thing. They were one of the two finalists there in the North Kansas City site to land the Royals. And then the Royals ultimately picked downtown. And not only did they pick downtown, they picked a fairly controversial site downtown in the Crossroads District. Well, now it's potentially back to square one for these teams. What do they do going forward? Where are they looking? Could North Kansas City be back in the conversation? Scott Wagner is a Clay County commissioner, and he's got a unique perspective here because he spent time at City Hall on the Kansas City, Missouri City Council. He ended his tenure as the mayor pro tem. So he joins us on KCMO. Scott, let's just get your reaction to Tuesday. How surprised were you by that outcome?
Well, I got to tell you, walking into that, I figured it was 50-50 and it could go either way. I think, like many, I was surprised just how big the difference was. But, you know, hindsight being 20/20, I think it's also a bit understandable what happened as well. But nevertheless, certainly wasn't on anyone's playbook, and and there you go.
No, it certainly wasn't. So what about, you guys? I don't know how, you felt when you were not selected as the site for the Royals. I don't know if you kind of packed up your bags and said, we gave it a shot, we're done, or if you always kind of kept the door open to something like this happening. So where are you at right now as a county commission and potentially exploring next opportunities with the Royals?
Sure. Well, the reality is that between January when they made the announcement and today, that all that land that was available in North Kansas City still is. There's still parking lots and warehouses there. So, I think our attitude is, we're always open to a conversation, whether it's with, frankly, with either team or with anyone else who's interested in looking at that location for any other purpose. And so, when you're in business, so to speak, your open sign is always there, and ours is. And so, if there's a desire to take a look back there at that location, I think we'd be open to it. I'm sure North Kansas City would. And, we believed in the first place that it was the best site. I think we still do. And so, if there's an interest, we're certainly willing to talk about it.
What do you think I know they like the idea of downtown baseball, and I put up air quotes when I say that, but the whole idea of, being right there downtown. What do you think the biggest impediment is then for you guys at this point? Is it getting a tax passed? We saw kind of the tax revolt against the teams on Tuesday. Is it the location that may not be ideal from the team's perspective? What do you think your greatest hurdle is right now?
I think in my view, really, it's, whether it is a tax or whether it is an incentive package or whatever it is, I think, everyone's nerves are a little bit raw just based on what happened on Tuesday. We were fortunately not in the middle of any of that war of words that occurred, for that election. So I think, number one, I think a lot of folks are just taking a deep breath. But I think from our standpoint, you look at other places around the country that are doing stadiums. Some of them are downtown, some of them are not. I go back to the point of if part of what is the deal is not only where do you put a stadium, but what do you do developing around it? If that is important, then this is the best site you'll ever find because of its proximity to downtown, because of its proximity really to everything in the region, the amount of property that you have to work with. I think if those things are important, then there is no better site to be. You can kind of get to the financial part of it in a number of different ways. But I do think that for most folks, I think they want a break. You're right. And but that break will end at some point, and when it does, then if people are ready to talk to us, we're ready to talk to them.
So you're right to bring up, the amount of space you certainly have in that North Kansas City location and what it could do for not just a stadium, but the things around a stadium. But you saw, as well as we all did here the last bunch of weeks, the voter was turned off by the idea of being asked for their money to build something that, they're certainly not getting revenue out of in their own pockets. In a place like Clay County that, it's a diverse county, but if you were to look at the metro, you would probably say it's even more of an more taxes county than Jackson. So how would you square that potentially with the voter if you come back to them on something?
Well, at the end of the day, I always believe you don't do taxes for taxes. You do taxes to provide some value, right? And so I think that's really, the question. If there is something that is being asked of Clay County voters, just as they were with Jackson County voters, you're asking yourself, what's the value to me? And that's rightfully so. And certainly, as you referenced, I was on the Kansas City Council. We had a total of, I think it was 18 items that we put on the ballot over the course of the 8 years that I was there with Sly James. And of those 18, only 2 failed. And there were various things like taxes and bonds and these sorts of things. And every time we did that, there was always the question of what is the value you're giving to the voter? And so I think to your point, and again, whether it's Clay County folks, whether it's Jackson County folks, whether it's any folks, if you're going to put a tax out there, you have to be able to answer the question, what are you giving the voter? And I think if just as we did and contemplated it the last time, if it comes back around to us again and we have an opportunity to talk about it and present something, then I think the question that our commission will have to answer is there a value to the voter? And I would probably go a little bit further to say the value must be more than just simply, structures, right?
Yeah.
It's got to have more to it. And I think that is the threshold that we would have. And I think if we have another conversation with the team, it's going to be about, what are we providing? And, and it's the community benefits piece, of course, but it's also just basically what are we offering the taxpayer? And, I think that's what we will have in mind, because if the value isn't there, we're not interested in having a repeat of what Jackson County had. And I think that is certainly what we'll talk about. And if we can't see that value, then, there's probably not a deal there. But
Yeah.
I think we're willing to at least have that conversation, see where we can create that value for the entire county, and maybe we'll get that opportunity, and hopefully so.
Scott Wagner, Clay County Commissioner. Last thing, can you share with us, confirm or deny? I mean, there were rumblings that the team was looking for a potential penny sales tax from Clay County. Obviously, only about, 250,000 people, give or take a third of Jackson. They would need a higher sales tax to obviously get the same amount of revenues. Is that the number that there were negotiations around, a full penny on a sales tax?
What I will tell you is we could come up with just as much money as what was being asked for from Jackson County, and we were nowhere near a penny to have to do that. And so, I will tell you, and because I think it's been out there, and at the end of the day, it was not so much what we offered, but what Kansas City offered that seemed to sway the deal to go to Jackson County. To this day, I have no idea what was offered, but what I do know is, at least from a county standpoint, we were just as competitive, and we were nowhere near a penny to do it.
All right, Scott Wagner, Clay County Commissioner. Something tells me we might be keeping in touch here over the next few months. We always appreciate you.
Likewise, I look forward to coming back.
All right, he is Scott Wagner on KCMO, Clay County Commissioner, former Kansas City Councilman, as that North KC site may be back in the mix.